Oh, Dalton. We are recording Couch Conversations, episode 3,
Hi.
with Dalton the dog. The internet sensation.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh, Dalton the dog.
It's exciting, September.
It is September. It is officially the 5th and final season, late summer in traditional Chinese medicine. Has a lot to do with building stable and solid foundations associated with the earth element. And earth, it's slow moving. It is no shortcuts. It is building brick by brick. It is details matter. And this is really the perfect time of year after the summer, after the chaos, this upward rising energy, more socialization, less sleep, to start to come back to ourselves, come back to our bodies, come back to our sense of self, and find our groundedness. So I think we've both been doing a little bit of that this week.
Yeah, it's transition week. And actually, so at the time of this recording, we're going to be doing a challenge starting next Tuesday. It's pretty exciting.
Yes.
So 3 weeks, no sugar or low sugar, no or low sugar. So you don't have to completely cut it, but you're learning to cut back. No phones in bed. And daily movement. The no phones in bed is really interesting
Ooh, it's hard.
Season is changing. The nights are, we have less daylight, we have longer nights, and our circadian rhythm is all messed up.
Yep. Yeah, I remember this was probably a year and a half ago. I was working with my own health coach, and doing the no phones in bed was what we called a cornerstone habit.
Ooh, I like that.
It was the one habit that was really hard for me to break. And once I was able to put my phone away at night, it was this ripple effect in the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it was just, people underestimate the value of those smaller habits that seem like common sense, but it made a huge difference for me.
Yeah, for sleep, right?
Yes, for sleep.
Good sleep.
And even for being able to not dissociate in the evening, come back to my body, reflect more, being able to get deeper into meditations. It was this like whole ripple effect.
Incredible.
It was amazing.
That's good. Yeah, that one thing. And then the no sugar or low sugar, also important during the season as we transition. So your diet has to change. Diet and even exercise changing for the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we had talked a little bit about seasonal eating at one point, and people in the community wanted to learn more about that and the importance of think about our diets and how we need to prepare for the colder months.
Yeah, starting to transition, especially into warmer cooked foods, less of like the raw salads. We both love smoothies, but if you're going to have smoothies, putting cinnamon or ginger in it to warm it up a little bit energetically.
Good, yeah.
And each season is associated with a flavor. So the flavor of this season is sweet, and we tend to think about sweet as like sugar and candy bars.
Right.
But sweet is really like cherry tomatoes. And peppers and corn. And when our taste buds are really hijacked by the processed foods and the added sugars, those things like cherry tomatoes, they start to lose that sense of sweetness and like that beautiful like sweet taste. So doing a 3-week reset where we're working on eliminating added sugars, we can get back in touch with that innate craving for sweetness as it was intended, which is just really beautiful.
That's really, that's good. Yeah. It'll be a really fun challenge. And it's 21 days. It'll go by quick, and you don't have to be online at any specific time.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it up there. So even in the future and for next September and for people looking at it, we'll have another one next September though too.
But, yeah, absolutely.
You can do it at your own time. Every single day, a new lesson will reveal itself.
Yeah, will reveal itself. Like a fun surprise. Yes.
At midnight or 12:01.
Amazing.
So it'll be exciting. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of things.
Yes.
And one of them was the labs, getting more into details with labs. And you said, and so then I wrote it down and then I forgot what we wrote down.
Yes, we were talking about how there are other testing companies on the market that are less expensive. And we're hearing from some people, what makes this different?
Yeah.
What is especially the price difference? And our labs are different because they aren't necessarily, this is not a general wellness check.
Right.
We created this protocol specifically for women who are going through specific stages of life, big transitions. We created this protocol so women can feel confident going into a fertility journey, that they have optimized their body, that they understand their body at a deeper level, that they understand what is going on in their physiology, that they understand the future implications to future generations through their physiology. They understand how they can best optimize themselves before entering perimenopause,
Right.
the possibility of extending fertility, how to reduce those symptoms. So this is not your everyday wellness check. It just isn't. And we could compromise in terms of the testing. We could do some of what we've seen other companies do to make it less expensive, but you would lose the value. And we consider these tests so important in order for those really big transitions in women's lives, or if you just want to optimize your health to that deeper level in general.
Right.
And if we were to take the shortcuts, it wouldn't provide the comprehensive care that we so strongly believe in.
Well, and I think what you had been saying as well is it's just too important, these transitions.
It's too
in life.
important.
You can't compromise. You can't compromise on it. And also even the insights that we get. So for perimenopause, specifically, so many women think you have to have 5 or 10 years of this roller coaster. It's supposed to be terrible. In fact, people have sent me memes that are jokes around how bad you're supposed to feel, and you're not supposed to feel that bad. You don't have to feel bad at all. In fact, right now, so I'm going to be 51 in a few weeks. I don't know if we've actually completely said that.
I don't know if
here we go. And I don't have perimenopause symptoms. Everything feels really normal, and my cycles are normal. And the last period I had was pretty great, actually. No drama, no crime scene. I know perimenopause, ladies, you know what I'm talking about, but that wasn't there. And it's not supposed to be this really difficult time in your life. It can be a lot easier. But that, for me to find that out and to optimize my body, required looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just the female hormone panel. It was my cortisol. It was DHEA. It was stress markers. It was everything, my thyroid, cardiovascular health. Mm-hmm. Looking at this entire huge picture so that it wasn't one thing, but we can talk about this. What is the difference between functional health and Western medicine?
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Because Western medicine only looks at one thing. So if you're a woman presenting with any sort of uterus issues, then you're just going to look there and the female hormone panels.
Yep.
But our bodies, it's the entire big picture. There are so many things feeding into that. And I know you can speak to this much more eloquently than I can.
I think you're doing a great job.
Biomarkers and understanding the full picture. You've called it a novel.
Yeah.
We're novels, all of us. And we don't want to look at one chapter and say, well, that's the reason. The reason this is happening is you've got, a gluten problem, or you've got this problem, or it's thyroid, or where's it all stemming from?
Yeah, absolutely. What I love about combining more traditional Chinese medicine theory and functional medicine is that they're so similar. And there's this saying in the acupuncture community that traditional Chinese medicine is the original functional medicine. Because it's understanding the body exists in systems that interact, that nothing exists in isolation, just like we don't exist in isolation. We need community to heal, just like our body needs its other systems to heal. Everything interacts and one thing is based off another, but that is particularly true in hormonal health. And it is especially true in women's bodies.
Right.
So being able to understand the full picture, getting an understanding of so many different elements of what's happening in the body, understanding the things that shouldn't be in the body in terms of toxicity, and maybe what is impacting that physiology and interrupting those systems. It's so exceptionally important. Julie spoke a bit about the perimenopause experience, and just so important to have your body optimized before, in order, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And the same thing is true with a preconception journey. Right. It was so important to me entering into my 30s, now 32. I really needed to understand what environmental exposures am I exposed to in real time that I can tell through a urine test, what my body is actively processing that has been shown to impact fertility dramatically. I need to understand my heavy level metals going into a pregnancy, understanding that those things have been shown to pass through the
Yeah.
placenta. It's so important. And these things are preventable. That is exactly what our protocol does. It shows you what you can determine about your own health so you can make informed decisions ahead of time.
Right. And if I had known, if I had done these sort of tests in my 30s, I never would have experienced some of the stuff I experienced in my 40s.
Absolutely.
And that's really, I mean, the reality is you're going to go through, like when you get to around my age, you're eventually going to have menopause. It's going to happen if you're alive. You might not want it to happen. It doesn't just happen overnight. It is a slow, change in your hormones over time. But everything you do in your 20s and in your 30s is going to alleviate a lot of the stuff that we just consider normalized at this point, like fibroids or heavy bleeding or anxiety, depression, weight gain. I mean, a couple of my friends and I used to call it the menopot. You just get like the pot belly and it's normalized. It's like, oh, well, you're 40, that's what's going to happen. Nope, does not need to happen. And it's not, it's a result of so many things that will show up in your biomarkers. But if I had, so we do this personalized report and it's so incredibly personalized for you, for your diet, for your exercise, stress, your life, your environment. But if I had that kind of report in my 30s, I can't even imagine how much smoother my 40s would have been, or definitely better. And even now, and I think it would have made a difference in even how I look and feel. So there's a lot that you can repair. We talked about this even this morning, where a lot of people don't know. I'm going to just say it, but a lot of people don't know that I smoked for a really long time. But and that's why I had work to do. I had to repair a lot of that damage. But I did. It's possible. You can repair many, many, many things, or at least alleviate it or make it a little bit better. And sometimes we think it has to be all or nothing, and it doesn't. But nothing in my heart biomarkers, my lung, nothing is showing up that you could actually tell that I smoked. And I just know that I did. But all of those things, whatever it is that you've got that needs to maybe be optimized, because we all have something that we could work on. Maybe it's no sugar, maybe it's phones in bed, maybe it is something like a vice. But whatever that is, it can be, I mean, optimized. Everything can be optimized. We are works in progress.
I think we should get into the individual labs and we'll walk everyone through why we put together the protocol that we did so people understand exactly what it is.
Foundation protocol.
The foundation protocol.
Because there are other things.
Other things are in the works, which is really exciting. So first we have a environmental pollutants test. It is a urine-based test. This test tells us exactly what your body is processing in real time. The benefits of using urine exactly are because if it's coming out in your urine, it means that it was in your body. So being able to have a urine-based test, this is going to tell us what your body is processing out through your urine. Things that are tested on this test, like BPA, parabens, and phthalates, have a dramatic impact on female and male hormones. So if you are on a pre-fertility journey, this is super important for you, especially phthalates are known, super well-known endocrine disruptors. BPA is known an estrogen mimicker. So these are also exceptionally important if you are going through perimenopause where you're having fluctuating hormones. You need your bioavailable hormones to be working for you. And things like this can impact the availability of your naturally producing hormones.
You can have alleviation of perimenopausal symptoms, really, if you can clear out these environmental toxins. And then there's so many studies. We've actually even got one linked on the site about pregnancy and specifically with this. I mean, it's not good. And what you've said, everybody has something that shows up.
So this test is a little bit tricky to remember because you do have to use first morning urine. It's really important. And so sometimes this takes people weeks because they'll put it next to their toilet and then they forget and then they have to do it over the next morning. And I think Julie had a little bit of this experience doing this lab.
What was funny about this for me is that even though I should have had my alarm set for it, but even though I left the test in the bathroom and I reminded myself, I had a Post-it note I literally was like, before you, the first thing you have to do is take this test. And I forgot. It was like many, many days in a row that I forgot. And then I finally did it. And once you buy the protocol and you do the protocol, you're going to want to do these tests sooner rather than later because it takes a while for us to send them in. And then we do this really extensive, it's more than 50 pages, personalized report. And that takes time. And that's what you're paying for too. I mean, that's what we are doing. That's so different and unique and special. So I can't wait to mail this out now that I finally did this.
I've had some clients where they have to leave a post-it note on their mirror on top of the toilet, open up the lid of the toilet, an additional post-it note. I mean, you really, sometimes that is what it takes. Your phone, alarms on your phone, it happens. I've had people, it took sometimes weeks, but if you come prepared, you will get it done.
Right.
It just may take a couple days.
Then you just mail it.
Yeah, and then you just mail it in a prepaid envelope. So it's super easy.
One of your tests.
So our second test is a heavy metal hair test. So what makes this unique is there are some companies in the ethers who are testing for heavy metals through your blood. It's a much cheaper test, much more affordable, but it's not as accurate. So your blood is going to reflect with heavy metals if you have had a recent or acute exposure. It will still be in your bloodstream. So if there's something like mercury or lead that's being tested through your blood, it will tell you if that is a very recent exposure. But your body is so smart, and metals are super toxic. So your body will do whatever it needs to do to get it out of your bloodstream. And that typically means storing it in tissues. For example, mercury, super toxic, really common with people who have mercury amalgams in their mouth. If you had fillings past a certain date, especially people who are in their 40s plus, typically I'm asking people if they have mercury amalgams. That can be a continuous small source of mercury coming from the mouth. And if you have a history of eating lots of large water fish, like tuna particularly, salmon not usually as much, sometimes people can have mercury toxicity that builds up over time. And mercury has an affinity for the thyroid gland. So oftentimes can get stored in the thyroid, big cause of hypofunctioning thyroid, can be a big factor in infertility. And your body will store something like lead, particularly in your bones. So we start to think about different metabolic processes that have high, especially like bone turnover, pregnancy, perimenopause. So
I don't know if most people make that association.
I don't think,
I think
anyone makes that association. So when we have when our body's doing what it's designed to do, it's designed to get these toxins, store them in safe places. Our bones are super safe places. Our hair also, another super safe place to excrete these metals out of the body slowly over time. If we're looking in the blood, we're missing a lot. And in my opinion, it's a total false reassurance that someone doesn't have those things in their system. Your hair, in my opinion, gives you a much more accurate perspective about what the body's overall metal burden is based off what it's trying to excrete out through your hair. Yep. So I love this test. It's a pretty comprehensive metal profile. Aluminum is another really common one that comes up because of soda cans and baking sheets and aluminum foil. But we look at an extensive list of heavy metals so you can, again, know with more of a sense of accuracy what is your heavy metal burden before going into a big life transition.
And I mean, again, going back to like the hand-picked labs for this is making sure that it's the most recent evidence-based science. These partners that we chose are very specific to look at these things in a way that very few people are looking at. And so, yeah, it's going to, it's extensive. And we'll have another video that shows actually, cutting your hair.
Yes. So our third at-home test is your salivary cortisol testing. And again, this is a little bit different on the market right now. There are some companies that are testing one blood level of cortisol. And this tells us cortisol is highly, highly variable. It changes not only by every minute, but potentially every second. It's different throughout the day. Your cortisol is highest when you wake up in the mornings. It is what wakes us up. And throughout the day, it declines. So you can look at a curve. Our cortisol testing, it tests for different points throughout the day. So it gives us an idea of what your cortisol rhythm is throughout the day versus an isolated marker. Because the time of day is going to dramatically impact it. If you have eaten beforehand or not is going to dramatically impact it. So we have people do it at specific times throughout the day to get an idea of your body's rhythms. And for women and the cyclical nature of our hormones and how rhythmic our bodies are, this is exceptionally important to understand the rhythm of your stress response, because this is going to act as such a foundational level understanding of your hormone health. So I love the salivary cortisol test. And it tells us also about your DHEAS, which is a marker of overall, like, your adrenal reserves. How are your adrenals that produce your cortisol and your stress response? How are they holding up? If that level is high, it tells me that our adrenals are being asked to push and push a lot. That also leads to increased aging, increased stress response. If they're low, we're now at a loss of resiliency stage. That we really need to support our adrenals in this process because they aren't able to quite keep up anymore.
The biohacking that I've done has all been blood for cortisol, and it's typically taking in the morning when you're the most stressed. So if you have high cortisol, it's going to be even higher. So it's not really a good indicator of whether or not it's too high. You can't really tell that much from it, which can be stressful in and of itself. And it is a marker for longevity, for sure. And so it's one of the things that we look at when it's like somebody is rapid aging or premature aging, or just everything else looks good and they feel great, but they're not looking great. That kind of thing might be because of this. So all of these things that it tells you, I just really like it. I mean, it's not super fun to spit in a bunch of these things, but it is what it is. And when you get the foundation protocol, you will definitely have instructions that go into more detail on what we're doing, like what do you have to do with this. But believe me, it's much, much better than just a one-shot blood test on this. You're going to get a much more accurate result. The only other thing I would say is it will show you a lot about ideal times of day to even work out as well, because you can work with your body natural cortisol response and alleviate it a bit.
Yeah, it adds to that personalization, being able to understand if you're in a high or low stress response, how you can go about your day structuring how you want that cortisol stress response to be. So it's a beautiful thing.
It's brilliant. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah,
nobody's actually doing that. We can get the Aura Ring and a lot of other different tools to get insights into when we're more or less fatigued, but I haven't seen anything yet for like cortisol.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. And then we have our advanced blood work. So our blood work goes into a CBC, which is a complete blood count. That is what most doctors run. It looks at your red blood cells, your white blood cells, size, shape, hemoglobin, hematocrit. It goes into the differential of your blood cells. So I love to look at this because, especially through a functional lens, it tells me what the immune system is responding to. Is it viral? Is it bacterial? Is there something potentially parasitic, food allergies, sensitivities? So it can be really helpful to see where that skew is in the white blood cells. We also have a female hormone panel. So that looks at your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, your sex hormone binding globulin, really important for something like PCOS. We are looking at, estrogen levels, exceptionally important, of course, for perimenopause. Progesterone, very important in relation to estrogen for estrogen dominance and horrible PMS. So that will tell us a lot about your reproductive cycle. Your CMP, complete metabolic panel, this goes into more of your body's physiology, your electrolytes. It goes into your liver health, a little bit of your kidney health as well. So how's the body doing with its detoxification organs? How's our body's water filter system going, our kidneys? What do our electrolytes look like? Our cells functioning intracellularly and extracellularly? We also look at a full iron panel, exceptionally important for pregnancy and women in general. We look at a full thyroid panel, which includes thyroid antibodies. There's a huge difference between having a hypo-functioning thyroid and having autoimmunity in the thyroid. And both of those things need to be handled differently. So it looks at that, which is really wonderful. We look at inflammation markers like HSCRP, which is more of a general inflammatory marker. homocysteine, which tells us how your body is cleaning up its waste products in different energy production cycles. So that also has a big factor with aging and detoxification as well. It can get into a little bit of genetics too, which is fantastic. Um, so our blood panel it's extensive.
I don't actually know. I've asked for it before from doctors and gotten a basic CBC. And even with that, I was almost begging for it. And they won't run it that often. I mean, you certainly wouldn't be able to get it every 6 months or every 3 months. You'd have to have something wrong with you. You'd have to present with an actual diagnostic condition. But all of these tests, I mean, it's really comprehensive, but it's everything. So again, you're looking at the whole entire big picture. I really think it's great. So there's a couple of options for people who are purchasing with us. If you're going through the foundation protocol, you can go to a lab near you and we'll provide all the instructions. Or we do have the option that people can add at-home mobile phlebotomy, which we've mentioned before. It's a really good option if you live in the woods, I like how you were like, I like that vibe. We're like sitting here in the middle of Boston right now and kind of feeling the vibe of the woods, maybe like going soon to the woods. But being rural, sometimes it can be hard. You can be a couple of hours out from a lab site. So understanding that, and especially as we expand throughout the country, usually it's within an hour or something from a LabCorp site. But if that doesn't work, or you just want to be at home and get your blood drawn and then go about your day, it's a really nice option. I think everything that we've tried to create here is to make it so that it's kind of really fun and insightful, and it shouldn't be more stressful. It shouldn't feel like going to the doctor. Like, these are insights that you're getting because you chose to get them. You chose to take control and to feel better and to prepare your body for anything that you want to do.
I was speaking with, oh, Dalton. I was speaking with someone this week about the foundation protocol, and her words that I loved were, I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but something just doesn't feel right. And I feel like I I know all the general guidance, but I'm not sure what I'm missing. And this is so important to do before big transitions. My personal opinion is that it is necessary to do before big transitions. And if you're in that space of, I feel like I read about all the toxins, and I don't drink out of plastic water bottles, and I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but I don't feel my best. This will give you a lot of clarity. So that feeling of frustration and borderline hopelessness of, why do I feel this way? And I'm feeling so lost, and I don't feel like my vibrant, energetic self. And maybe this is just normal. I can assure you it's not. I can assure you that anyone who has ever said that to me, we have always found reasons why their body isn't showing up to be its most vibrant self. And there are reasons for it. So this protocol is just, I can't emphasize enough how insightful it is. And we designed it to be able to help women who are in that position, just feeling like they are losing a little bit of touch with their body.
This weekend was a really big weekend. It was Labor Day weekend, so we're recording this on the Tuesday. Oh, today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
I actually think we shouldn't edit that because it explains everything about this week. It's still a little bit in vacation mode, but also what a huge transition. It is a transition. And we started the beginning of this video talking about September being a huge transition. I wrote a blog called September Sauteed, and it's really this nice word, and it doesn't really have a direct English translation, but it kind of means like the hope of something new while being sad and nostalgic for the past. So it's a transition. I'm sad that the summer is going away. I'm hopeful for the fall. I'm excited about a new season, but everything is changing. Our days are getting shorter. It's getting cooler. We needed sweaters the other day in Boston, which was shocking after so much humidity and the heat. But our diets change. Everything is changing. To me, September is so perfect. It's my birthday month. I will not stop talking about it because I think it's really important. I love my birthday month. It is it's the month we go back to school. It always means new beginnings. In Boston, it's when more people are moving out and moving in. It's like all college students coming in. So this huge sense of transition and renewal is happening. The leaves are preparing to actually fall, and it's all going to happen within the next month. Like, it's going to look totally different. We'll probably take some pictures walking down the Commonwealth Mall in Boston, which is beautiful, and to show it today, we're all green, and even in a month from now, it's going to be all the colors. Really beautiful. But we must transition for it to. Our bodies change and everything changes. For me, it's the best time of year. I mean, I love doing my blood work at all times. I think every 3 months. I mean, I'm one of those people who does it every 3 months, but if you're going to start anything, I would start it now. I literally do it right now and get your first insights before the winter starts, because we naturally hunker down. We naturally don't want to change our diet or our exercise during the winter months. We're cold and we just don't feel like it. And even if you're in like Southern California or you're in the South, it's still changing, and the light is different and it's cooler. And it's the right time, I think, to like really understand how to make the most out of everything that you're doing.
The fifth season, it's the end of a cycle. It's the completion. It's getting the fruit from your harvest, sitting and enjoying and reflecting before we go into fall. Fall is an interesting season. It's about grief and it's about letting go. So this time right now is the end of a cycle. And there isn't a better time to do blood work, to take a look at your body, and to understand what version of yourself you want to leave behind. What is coming up on these labs that isn't representing this whole, most authentic, best version of you? And how can we support you in that transition, both with your physiology and you emotionally and spiritually transition into this next phase that brings you back into alignment and that transitions you into this next phase of your life with the most grace and the most ease.
It is eclipse season. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go there a little bit. We have an eclipse on the 17th. If you think back on the last one in April, what has changed in 6 months? For me, a lot. For both of us, a lot. We started this company we hadn't even, even thought about it the way that it was 6 months ago. And think about where you want to be in 6 months. How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? How do you want your body to be? And when you think about, running to catch the bus or running to go do something or grabbing a bunch of groceries, can you do it? Are you feeling strong and happy and healthy? Are you sleeping well? Do you feel the most vibrant? And when you look in the mirror, are you super happy about it? Are you ready to prepare your body for a baby or to transition to any phase of life? And I think my answer is always yes, and I want to optimize it. This is the time to think about it. Where do you want to be in 6 months? Because you can start right now. It's going to happen either way. 6 months from now is going to exist. Mm-hmm. How do you want to feel in those 6 months?
We can revisit that. Everyone's answers in April, where we will be. But yeah, the time will pass either way. So this is our episode 3, Couch Conversations. As always, joined with Dalton the dog. And we will be back probably on a new couch for episode 4.
Yeah.
It will be exciting. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.